What's up, guys? In today's video, we'll be talking about how to avoid $300,000 mistakes in your restoration business. How do I know? Because I made these mistakes personally, and I don't want to see you have to relive the same things that I've already gone through. Here's the deal. There's a handful of things that I did in the beginning that were very, very dangerous. I'm not going to make those same mistakes again, but I want to make sure that you don't make them now. And there's a lot of mistakes that you can make in year 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you haven't seen these things before. And I want to share some of those with you in today's video. Here's the deal. If you own a restoration company and you want to avoid some landmines and pitfalls from other people, you don't want to miss this video. Let's go. All right, guys, so as we get started, I want to share this with you. Some of you guys have already made some of these mistakes. Some of you haven't. And I just want to make sure that I take the time today and just outline some of these pitfalls so you don't step in them. You can step around them, okay? The first thing we're going to talk about is like money management and intermingling funds. If you don't already use an escrow account on your recon projects, then you need to do so. And I'm going to break that down in this video today. Also, we'll touch on why you should never use W-2 labor for your reconstruction projects. How should you think about tackling your recon projects if you're going to do recon? And what is the danger specifically of using W-2s? And what does that do to your P&L? We're going to talk about that. And then ultimately, we'll talk about the one big mistake I see a lot of people make, which is taking jobs that you shouldn't be taking whenever things are slow. Like you've probably I got to get something to keep my guys busy. And I know you've said that, and I know you've heard people say that. And I'm going to touch on some of the horror stories and the problems with doing that in this video. And lastly, we'll be talking about the most important skill that you can learn in your restoration business. Listen, I know you guys are probably like me. We're SOP freaks, right? We want to know procedures and operations and everything. But if you don't have jobs coming in the door, there's no reason for any processes or procedures. And so I'm going to talk to you about that skill. Here's the deal. You guys need to jump in this video. Let me know what you think. And before we jump in there, drop a comment down below, hit the like and subscribe button. Tell me where you guys are tuning in from. That helps the algorithm. It shows it to more people. That would mean a lot. No further ado, let's hop in.
Some of these mistakes are things that I did early on in my career. And some of these things are things that I didn't do, but I've seen others do. But I can tell you one of the big mistakes that I was making in the beginning was this. Intermingling funds, okay? If you are going to do reconstruction, all right, and you're just not going to listen to me and only do water, right? If you're going to do reconstruction, for the love of all things good, please separate your reconstruction funds. So what you will want to do is you'll have, and the way that we did it was this. We took a page out of the Profit First book. So we have an income account, and then we would have an operating expenses account, okay? So income, all the deposits go in the income account, and then we would move the money over twice a month, I think is what it was. And so we'd move the money over twice a month, and then we would move all of the money from mitigation and mold, everything that you do with your W-2 labor, all of that goes into the OPEX account, 100% of it. But if you're going to have reconstruction money, and so let's say that you've got a deposit and you got $50,000 of recon funds in that deposit. What you want to do is to put the majority of that recon check in a separate checking account, completely separate checking account. And we treated it like an escrow account. Okay. And, all bills, everything gets paid out of that escrow account. And so let's say hypothetically that, you can pull a small amount of your proposed profit out. So on a $50,000 job, if you got 10 and 10, so whatever, pull your 10 and 10 out, right? Whatever your markup is on that. So whatever you think your projected margin is going to be. So if you think your projected margin is going to be $10,000 or $12,000, I would advise you to pull out probably half that. Just cover your cost, okay? And the reason why you're even putting any of that from the recon account into your OPEX is because you got to pay for that freaking project manager and that estimator. And you're going to pull a little bit of that proposed profit out, okay? So the big sin that we're talking about is putting all the money in one account. Huge problem. Such a big problem. I remember this at some point early in my restoration career. I had never made that much money. I had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in the checking account. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in the checking account. And I did not know how much of it was mint money, recon, any of that. And boy, I was spending money like a drunk drug dealer, to be honest with you. And I was hiring people. I was ordering trucks and paying $15,000 for logo designs and band wraps, and went and hired a 6-figure guy. And then I turned around, looked up the next month, and we did like $30,000 of water mint the next month. And I was like, whoa. And it did not take long for me to go from $350,000 to $400,000 in a checking account to under $100,000. Okay. And the problem is you've got liabilities against that money, and it's not clean and clear quickly at a glance how much is yours and how much goes to other people. So for that reason, put it into a reconstruction account. Now, the next thing, you'll get your own check card, and you'll get your own checkbook or your own set of checks for your reconstruction account. Now, something really big important here. This leads me into my next mistake. Do not, for the love of all things, do not do reconstruction work and pay your W-2 labor for those projects. If you are going to do recon, you have to use subcontractors. You cannot, you may not, you shall not use your W-2 labor. You shall not. And the reason why is this: you will never manage the inefficiencies out of your W-2 laborers. Zero chance. And if you're not going to listen to me, you are circling the drain, my man. There's a reason why you go around and you look at all these big builders, all the commercial contractors and everybody else. Like, dude, these are all the home builders. These are subcontractors paid by the job. Okay. Which brings me to this. Once you tell Billy that he's getting $800 for that project, it doesn't matter how long it takes him. But when you're paying him by the hour, you're back to managing the inefficiencies and trying to manage that out. And you ain't never going to do it. Okay. Now, the other reason why you can't pay him on a W-2 is this. You can't use the whole recon account that I'm talking to you about. Now you got to put all your recon money into that escrow account. And it's just a complete disaster trying to reserve money into that escrow account to pay for your subcontractor materials and labor. Okay. So I don't know if you've got a question on that. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Make sure that you have 1099s that you are using on a contract basis for your reconstruction. Okay. And look, I already know there's going to be a series of you guys, and I did too. I had a W-2 guy and I would put him sometimes out on a project to button some stuff up. But I'm telling you, that stuff, it comes out of your overhead, and that whole guy's salary is overhead. It's all overhead, which brings me to another point. We got a lot of points that we're coming up with today. The way that I view employee labor, I categorize that as overhead. I categorize it overhead. Well, Shane, why do you do that? Because you're going to pay them their 40 regardless if you give them their 40 or not. And if you don't give them their 40, they're going to find somebody else who's going to give them that 40. If you own a business and you can't find enough work to give them 40 hours of water jobs, then you don't need them. Man, this is bringing me into another problem. So here's another mistake that you should avoid in running a restoration business, which is this.
Hey guys, real quick, in case you didn't know, I help people just like you grow and scale your water damage restoration business. If you are interested in me helping you grow and scale your company, go to workwithshane.com. We hop on a 15-minute call to see if we're a good fit. Workwithshane.com. Now, let's go back to the video.
Do not take jobs that are not water jobs just because you want to keep your guys busy. Do not take jobs that you shouldn't be doing. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm saying you don't need to be doing some of these random pack outs, cleaning gutters, just jobs you wouldn't normally do, job types you wouldn't do, for customers you wouldn't normally serve, in areas that you wouldn't normally go. Don't do that. Don't do that. And you do that in the name of keeping your guys busy. And let me tell you how this plays out. A few years from now, eventually, those guys that you busted your butt for to keep busy, already gone. They don't even really appreciate it or care. And they're not going to be here in 2 or 3 years. So you need to spend your time focused on what you need to do to grow your business, which is learn how to get more water jobs. Learn how to get more water jobs, which leads me into another mistake. A lot of people in business, period, but especially in restoration, for this context, we're talking about restoration. A lot of people spend too much time doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, okay? Trying to write a process or a procedure. If you ain't getting enough water jobs, you don't need any processes. You need some water jobs. And if you don't know how to get those, your marching orders are this: figure out how to get them. And look, there are certain activities that you can do in your business that will yield a result. But there is nothing, my man, there is nothing more important than you spending the time that you should be doing to build, grow, foster, and maintain your relationships to get more water damage jobs. That's it, okay? And in business, there are outsized returns on certain actions. And I am telling you, you can spend your 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week doing whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, if you are not dedicating and time blocking your time to get in front of, stay in front of, meet, greet, and accommodate your plumbers, I'm just telling you, you're missing out, okay? You're missing out. And you are going to have to protect your time. And here's how I do it. And this isn't how I did it back then. This is a lesson that I probably had to learn over time, okay? But now I block my calendar. I literally go into my Google Calendar and I'll create an hour block or a 45-minute time block. And like, for instance, today on Tuesdays, I go exercise. I go work out or go play tennis for a couple hours. In the middle of the day, I got a 2-hour time block. You can't get a call with me. You can't do anything with me on that time because I've got that time blocked off. Okay. Now, you may not be able to carve all of that out depending on where you're at in your restoration journey. Okay. But you can still go do your stuff. You just got to take your phone and you have to learn what is it that you are performing, what role, what function in your business that is so demanding that you can't take that little break? That is a good question, because once you hit critical mass, once your profit is greater than expenses, that's phase one in business. Phase two is to replace the revenue from critical mass with referrals, word of mouth, by plumbers. That should be your phase two. You don't have to do that. You should, though. You should, because there is no skill that is greater than learning how to get more water damage jobs by building relationships with referral tree plumbers. That's it. That's the best thing that you can learn. If I could teach anybody that skill and you never learn anything from me again, that's what you want to come get. That is what you want to come get. Because when you have that, now you have the ability to earn money to pay for the solutions that you need to install in your business to make it work otherwise. Until you master getting water damage jobs, you have not secured a way to continue getting income into your business. Do you understand? And you may not ever have the revenue to solve those operational, those accounting, those HR problems in your business. Learning how to get water damage jobs, learning how to master getting money will give you the cash to solve the rest of the problems. Okay? So, where were we as we talk about other problems in the business? So the last one was you need to create your time blocks. You need to honor your time block. Okay. And if you guys have questions, you can put a comment down below for whatever they are, and I will get back into those and dive into them as well.
Guys, if you didn't already know, the two biggest problems you're going to have in owning a restoration company are this. Number one, getting consistent water damage jobs coming in the door. Number two, getting paid what you're worth for those water damage jobs. For that reason, I'm addressing both those problems with these videos to my left or right. On one side, it's about getting jobs. On the other side, it's about getting paid. Go over there, click the link. I'll see you in the next video.